you invited me.
Happy to have you. I think we are about to be live, if not actually. I think we are live. And if other folks want to check us, hey. Hey, Cirillo. Hey, Felicia. Hey, Faye. I'm super excited to be here with y'all today. I'm hoping you all might talk more than I do. If you can't tell, I'm losing my voice. And I got a few more briefings today. But I'm excited to be here talking to you all and hopefully talking to some folks watching. And hopefully folks will watch later too. We are, as you all know, in the middle of our nomination period for the Powerful Idea Awards. It's the first time we have done this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's the first time there has been a real award program, industry award program for the progressive movement. And so that's one of the reasons I'm especially excited about it, because I've been doing this work a long time, and I know some of you have been doing it a while, maybe a little less long than myself, just by age here. But as we all know, the folks that do this work, in my opinion, are heroes. They are working all over the country, working on campaigns, working on advocacy organizations, working in consulting firms, working to really have an impact on our democracy, elections, and advocacy. And that's actually what IDEA stands for. That's an acronym for Impacting Democracy, Elections, and Advocacy. And our community of activists and professionals, and I really do combine them. You don't have to be doing the work full-time or paid professionally necessarily to be part of this community. There's so many people who do this because it's a passion and they have other careers. And they're all especially appreciated in some ways. So this awards program has been in a planning process for a while now. And so we want to focus today's presentation, if you will, and I want to keep it a little bit brief, but on what the awards are. We actually have a lot of them, as you all know, and really kind of walk through the process of actually doing a nomination so that folks understand, really, these are open. We are not screening people for who they are necessarily, although our expectation is that the people who are nominating are folks who work in this industry or, again, activists. We have 5 broad categories, and I'm going to do a screen share, I think, here. Make sure I'm doing it properly. Make sure I've got the actual words up. How about that? I'm not going to do it with my 2 monitors, but I will do a window here in a second. Our categories are for talent or people. That's sort of obvious. Categories are for talent, content, and creatives. Basically, this is anything from a TV ad to a radio ad to a piece of mail to a piece of digital communication, technology, organizations, and programs. And again, I will repeat that as I go to get my screen shared here. Hopefully I'm sharing the right one. And oh man, telling me I don't have permission. All right, bear with me. It's not letting me do my screen share. I don't know if any of you can do screen share.
I don't think we have the capability, but
this will be a bummer if I can't do a screen share. I should. I do screen shares on this all the time. I really don't want to have to restart Chrome here. I wonder if I do, y'all keep talking about it, maybe, and I will reboot. If you lose me here for a second, hopefully that doesn't lose the rest of us.
Well, I'll chime in here and allow us to introduce ourselves.
How about that? Thank you.
So my name is Felicia Matthews, and I serve as the digital director here at Gain Power. It's a really exciting opportunity to be doing the Powerful Idea Awards. I know, Amy, this is something that you have been dreaming of ever since I started last year around this time. And I'm so happy to see it being able to come to fruition. So anything that's going to be happening on social media, we're going to also show you there online how you can nominate, and also when voting begins, how you can vote, and ultimately keep you up to date with what's going on with the Powerful Idea Awards throughout this entire process until we are in Washington, D.C. on June 8th and 9th. So excited to be here and to be able to have this conversation. I'll pass it off to Cirillo.
Felicia, thank you. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. It was really, really good. Very fluid, I must say. Ife's back. Good to see you back. Yeah, I'm Cirillo, last name Monego. I am, part of this team here at Game Power, but folks may know me or may not know me. I'm a partner and CIO with Black with No Chaser. We're a multimedia brand that we talk about Black issues. But no, I'm very excited about this. I think it's an opportunity for people all across the spectrum in terms of politics to get involved. Like to Amy's point, I don't think there's really anything out there that is specifically driven for advocates. I think that you have other platforms that maybe deal in media, or they deal in publication type work that find people that could be part of this space in the conversation. But very, very, you don't get the opportunities. There's very far few in between opportunities where just straight out advocacy, politics, and those that have been doing the work. And so it's a really, really special time. And people should know that before we get into this, I know we didn't really talk about it just yet. But the awards will be held at a really, really cool spot. I want to make sure people understand that. I want to hype that up and pass that along. This is, although it's the first, you're going to get the feels, right? And the people that's going to be in the building, as if this has been going on for a very, 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 very long time. The people that are behind this thing, including Ife and Felicia, and of course, the person in charge here, Amy Pritchard, have been doing this work for a very long time. The network is extensive. So if you think that, hey, I'm coming to something that I don't really know exactly if I should be there, this is in fact something that you should be at, especially if you're trying to transition from a political position or advocacy organization. If you're new to the space, this is definitely for you. Major networking opportunities. Career Expo is going to be on 10. And then lastly, too, though, we get to celebrate folks that we've been seeing out there that have been doing this work for a very, very long time. And we should add, we're going to be partying too. And so if you're not going to be in the building, maybe catch it next year. But we want to see as many people as possible in the DC, in the DMV area, in the surrounding areas in Philly and New York and West Virginia and North Carolina and Ohio and so on and so forth. But super excited to be a part of this. I think it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be a cool gathering of folks. And last thing I'll say is, one thing I'm really excited about is seeing people I haven't seen in a long time. I know there's going to be some familiar places in the building, and so super excited about that. But Eve, go ahead and introduce yourself, sis.
I will. Thank you, Cirillo. I'll take it away. Hi, guys. My name is Ife Bowman. I've been in this space. Well, first, let me say what I do on the team. I'm doing working with Cirillo to do recruitment so we can bring talented folks down for our career fair that we're very excited to be holding, in addition to the award show that we are here to announce, or to the nomination process that we're here to give you the gist on. And then I'll also be doing logistics as far as getting folks to the event and making sure that people aren't straining themselves to get to the event, because we want this to be inclusive in all ways, right? So we want economic diversity first and foremost. So that's something that I'll be taking the lead on, and something that's very exciting, and we don't see a lot, where you're given an opportunity and it's free for you for the most part. So I'm very excited. We're doing great work. And I guess it's time to talk more about the nomination process. The first thing I want to flag, as you guys are looking for the nominations, unless you obviously just click on the direct link, if you were to just look up Powerful Idea Awards, you have to use powerful, the full phrase, or there are other searches that will come up and confuse you. So make sure you're typing in Gain Powerful Idea Awards, and then it will be the first Google search. Felicia, did you want to expand on the award process while we wait for Amy?
Yes. So I'll go back to originally what Amy said, and the creation of the Powerful Idea Awards. I started March 2021, and this is one of the first things that Amy told me that she wanted to do. She said she wanted to really have something that was for the democratic and progressive politics community, meaning the individual people. So from field organizers to consultants, party committees, state parties, nonprofit and advocacy organizations. And this is coming to life finally. And as Amy said earlier, the idea and the powerful idea stands for impact on democracy, elections, and advocacy. So we want people to know that this is specifically built by the progressive community for the progressive community, to really call out and help folks get recognized for their impactful work for 2021 and parts of 2020 as well. So with Amy coming back on, I'm going to transition back to Amy so we can talk about the nomination process, which is right now fully open, and we're going to be able to show folks how they can do that.
Thanks. Sorry, I had to pop on and off to like reset my Chrome basically so that I could share screen here. So first of all, thanks y'all. Are you not hearing me? I'm not muted.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Like Cirilla was going off for a second there. So I'm going to share my screen in just a second here. And hopefully add to stream. There we go. All right. Sorry about the delay on that point here. So I'm going to just... So right now, my screen is showing the landing page for our awards platform. It is a unique platform built just for awards. It's the same platform some of our colleagues have used for the Poly Awards and the Reed Awards. I actually discovered it because the Fast Company magazine uses it. It's really specifically built for award platforms. So it's separate from our Gain Power platform. And we have a simple URL, powerfulidea.org, that will take you to it. So we've been pushing that URL so that you find it. Again, anyone's going to land on it. And you're going to have to create an account. Now, of course, I already have one. So I'm going to be able to log in a little bit more quickly, but it's a pretty simple setup login process to register. Pretty basics here. Hopefully it's going to remember me and I don't need my magic link. And so I'm actually an admin. Most of y'all might just go to an applicant portal here. And you will see that I actually already have a couple completed and a couple incomplete. But I'm going to just show you what it's like to actually just start one from scratch. Keep in mind, like I said, we have several different categories. So again, I'm going to go to nominate and I'm going to begin a new submission. And that's going to take me to another page, hopefully quickly here. Taking a second to load. And hopefully, so now it's just slow loading. I see it's loading. Here we go. All right. So what y'all do, the very first thing you need to do is you need to pick one of the categories. And like I said, we've got 5 broad categories. Majority of them, by the way, are in the talent category. We've got almost 80 categories, by the way. Some of which might be collapsed and some of which might be expanded. We can talk more about that or certainly ask your questions about it. But I'm going to go right away to transformative talents and leaders. And what will happen, and this will happen on all of them, by the way, but what will happen is you'll get a second drop down. And this is where you pick your individual category. Now, again, you can see we have a whole bunch of them here. And like I said, I've already picked a couple people. I'm not going to lie. I cannot wait to see who folks nominate. I have lots of ideas for a handful of these categories, but there's a lot. I don't begin to know who the right folks are. And I'm really hoping our community lifts up people working in the field. But we've got kind of three, 4 broad categories within talent. We have campaign staff. We have nonprofit or organizational staff, or PACs or parties. And then we have some consultants. And then we have a handful that didn't quite fit into either. So they kind of stand alone. Again, you'll see them. I hope you're seeing all the way down here. Um, so again, campaign, nonprofit. Like I said, there's a handful here that didn't quite fit in, so we've just added them there. I am going to go ahead and nominate a friend while I'm doing this. For the record, I'm recusing myself from the judging process since I am actually submitting some actual nominations. Um, I'm going to go ahead and submit a photographer right now. Photographer that I've worked with for many years. She does a ton of campaign work, candidate work, organizational work. So she also has no idea I'm doing this, by the way. She'll probably kill me when she finds out I'm doing this live. So definitionally, by the way, I am actually listed here because you can nominate yourself. And by the way, there is no shade in doing that. In fact, we strongly encourage you to nominate yourself if you want to be recognized for the work that y'all been doing out there. But in this case, I'm not nominating myself. I am going to nominate Jocelyn Augustino. And like I said, she has no idea that I'm doing this. And I'm double checking something even as I do this, by the way, because one of the things I probably should have had this teed up, but this is kind of the point is I don't have, you want to make sure you have their contact information handy. So Lyn Agostino, and she's other, right? So right away, you noticed right there that it changed the fields a little bit. If it's myself, I don't need permission to nominate myself, but you do want to make sure if you're nominating someone else that you think, you don't have to tell them, maybe it'll be a surprise, but you do want to make sure that there's someone who's going to be willing to be nominated. So I am going to, I'm going to actually skip over this right now, mostly because I don't want to show her private information. But I would normally put in, actually, I'm just going to put in I'm going to put my own email in, just again, as a placeholder here. This is not what you should do. You should actually put in their email, their phone number. And she's a photographer, right? She doesn't really have another title. But you want to put in, if the title doesn't match the name of the award, this will be particularly relevant. If it matches, so be it. She's a freelancer, right? She works for a whole bunch of folks. She's not on staff anywhere, but if they were on staff, you might list the organization, you might list the campaign. And I'm nominating Jocelyn. In many ways, and this is, again, I want to inspire y'all to think about the kind of folk there. I feel like she's a bit of an unsung hero in the field. She's quite literally always behind the camera. A lot of folks don't get to see her picture, don't know who she is, but she has taken some iconic images among the folks she works with. She works for Governor Jared Polis in Colorado, has been taking his photography for years. But she's done so many, I couldn't even begin to list them all. And so I'm just going to say she is awesome. Has been working as a photographer in progressive politics for years. And again, I'm going to be super short here. We may or may not make this information public. We actually put a little disclaimer up here. We want to be able to take some live quotes in some of our social media and in the nomination process. So certainly whatever you put in here, you want to make it something that could be out there. And I don't actually have her headshot handy. It's not required. I can find her. I'm going to Google her real quick to get her Twitter. She has a Twitter. Let's find her. I do have that. Again, this is a point about it's taken me a minute here. There she is. All right. I'm going to put her Twitter in there. All right. And that's it. Save and next. And if I wanted to add any information, like if I wanted to add her photos, any supplementary information I could add here, I'm not going to do that right now. It's absolutely not required. But it would be a nice touch if we have, especially for the content ones, that's going to be much more relevant. If I wanted, especially if I was nominating myself, but I wanted someone else to give me a letter of recommendation, I might have somebody do that and put it in here. Again, not required. Beautiful touch if you want to add it. Again, skipping along right here. And it's saved. And now we end up at a review and checkout. And I don't need a discount code. I'm going to talk about paid and unpaid here in a second. But that's it. I do have to go to checkout. There's a reason for this. It is a couple extra steps. And what we're realizing, in fact, one of the reasons we're doing this presentation today is that people are realizing that they've got a couple more steps here, but they have to finalize it. And so it's going to come here. It's going to get to a cart. And there's no charge, right? There's absolutely no charge. And that's it. I should actually be done. I could go back and submit another one right now. And in fact, I am going to go back and submit another one right because I want to show you a different kind. I'm not going to do all of them, but it's worth noting. So like I said, we've got 5 categories here. 4 of the categories have paid nominations, which is completely standard in our business. We chose, for a variety of reasons, to have a mixture of paid and free nominations. All the individual categories are free. One, just real straight up, this is a very expensive platform and an expensive event to put on. And so we certainly will use some of the revenue from the fees to offset our overall expenses. And again, it's pretty industry standard. The Polys, the Reeds, lots of other industry award programs charge for their nomination process. Again, it also makes sure that we've got credible folks in a lot of ways. But I do want to flag, and it's really important to me, and this is pretty consistent with our everything that we do at Game Power. We never want the cost of something to be a barrier to entry. We never want the cost to be something that prevents people from submitting. So my point being is that we will waive the fee for anybody who requests us to do so. It's really an honor system. We're not making judgments about folks. If you want to submit someone, especially if you're submitting someone else, you shouldn't have to pay to nominate. But again, it's a flag for the platform, a flag for people to understand kind of how our system works. So if I were to go now to go back to the home, or go back to nominations here. I am going to go back to nominations. I'm going to go ahead and begin a new submission. And I'm not, because again, we don't want these to, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but I do just want to kind of show you a secondary one. If I pick creative communications or piece of content, once again, you're going to get to this drop-down menu and you're going to see the individual categories. The important thing for these categories and a couple others is that we do want to see what you're nominating them for. So if you are submitting a piece of mail, for example, happen to be a mail consultant, I might even submit a nomination myself, but probably not. Probably going to be just, that might be inappropriate for me personally. Not inappropriate for anybody else, though. But I could nominate myself or my company. I might put my company name, my company's AP campaigns. And, in this case, I would say self. I'm just doing this for a demo. Again, this is an important point, especially for consultants out there. For me, it's my company producing stuff, but I usually am producing it for a client. And so this is an opportunity for me. If I'm submitting my work, but I really want it to be for the client, I could put the organization out there. So I could put in, I do some work for the Human Rights Campaign. And by the way, again, I didn't prepare for this right now. So I'm going to have to take a second to find my content. But Human Rights Campaign was a client for me in Virginia last year. They did some great work. Oops, I'm putting it. Sorry. Here he is. Client, on behalf of a client. There we go. And again, it's me here. So, and, I'm hoping HRC themselves submits it. But great work in Virginia. Turning out the youth vote, by the way. And I would go through, and in this case, I would actually want to submit. I'd want to upload a file. I'm actually, like I said, I'm not going to do that right now, but I do want to show you that you just upload it from your computer. Mostly because I have so many pieces, it might take me a sec to find it. But and then I would describe it here, right? So I could put an external link. If you're doing digital communication, you're putting some out there from a website, you can put the external link there, or you can lift it up, or you could do a screenshot. Even if it is a digital piece of content, you could screenshot it and lift it up as an image. There's a lot of different ways to upload content here. Taking a breath from my team here. I'm not seeing any questions, but do you, even if you or Felicia, do you have questions about this process?
What I would actually like to talk about is some more of the categories. I know you kind of briefly mentioned them, but so folks can have a good understanding. Could you actually go back to the homepage, and so we can kind of talk folks through what those categories look like in the individual awards?
Absolutely. And just
Yeah.
to be clear, when you go on to just Powerful Idea right here, just without going to anything else, if you scroll down right here, you're going to see all the individual awards. And you'll see
Yes,
again.
that's a good flag. So they can always find the categories
And by the
themselves.
way, I also something else I did, and we may tweet it. In fact, we probably will tweet it. Is I actually made a spreadsheet with this, so if people want to kind of gather all their information ahead of time. Like I said, I am going to submit a few more nominations myself, and so I'm going to use the spreadsheet. And so we'll tweet the spreadsheet so people can make a copy of it so that you can kind of make it handy and put all the information you might want ahead of time in there, kind of like a cheat sheet. But these are all the categories, and it's a lot. And all at the same time, by the way, let me tell you, we had a really hard time getting down to this shorter list. In fact, we're already probably sneaking a few more in. Um, and you can imagine, we started out with over 200 and we're down to about 80. But when we talk about our industry, we have a really diverse industry in so many senses of the world. Ife, jump in, please. Oh, she's peacing out. Sorry. Thought she was trying to say she wanted to jump in. Anyway, we've got a super diverse community of folks that do this work, both from a skill, from a sector, and from geography. And we don't even touch geography in this right now. This is our first inaugural. We might do some state specific ones after the midterms next year. This year, we're not doing state specific, but you could imagine that suddenly would blow it up. But we were pretty intentional about wanting to recognize folks who actually work for individual campaigns. That is a huge part of the work and a huge part of our community. Folks who actually are out there, whether you worked on a presidential campaign or legislative race or municipal mayor's race. This is mostly focused on 21, so a lot of legislative, municipal races out there. Obviously, the consulting world is doing a lot of the creative, so we never want to make this exclusive about them. They do have the polys and touch, but they're still a really important part of our community. And then the progressive organizations, and even just saying progressive organization, there's so many categories of groups. We put all the party committees in here. We put all the super PACs in here. We put the C3s that are doing voter registration and voter education, the C4s that are doing advocacy. If you think about advocacy over the last year, all the folks who've been working on voting rights, all the folks who've been working on Build Back Better, all the folks who've been working to protect women's health and protect abortion rights in the states and nationally. When you talk about the kind of work that the movements have been doing to lift Black Lives Matter, to fight for climate change, to lift, this year, obviously our judicial nominees. I mean, there's so much kind of work that is done in our community of progressive organizers. It really represents an incredibly diverse set of types of organizations and people and skills that do this work. And there's a lot of reasons we're doing these awards, but part of it is truly recognizing unbelievable work that's gone out there that has gone unrecognized for a really long time. Candidates, and we do actually have a few candidate categories, by the way, because they still, of course, are in so many ways this is about them, but it's not just about them. And they do get recognized a lot. They're obviously the front face. We want to recognize the folks behind the scenes doing the work. So that is what these categories are for, and the individuals. The creatives, we really want to recognize the actual work, the product of the work, if you will. Again, this is a short list. We could have done so many others here. But, and we want it to be not just the traditional community. I'm such a product in so many ways of our institution, but the thing that blew me away over the last few years is the number of artists out there and creators who made murals, right? Who made signs and created installations, who did plays and did videos and created stuff that wasn't necessarily for an individual campaign. They just did it because they were passionate about the elections. They were passionate about the issues. They're passionate about the causes. And all of those folks, we would like to be brought into this. So just flagging that a little bit here. Of course, the organizations themselves, we have campaign as an organization, issue advocacy or ballot measures. We recognize sort of program in here in terms of folks that really just do DI work. We really wanted to lift up a media outlet. There are so many media outlets out there that are, doing hard work to cover. I think of just off the top of my head, some of the podcasts and some of the blogs out there, and even traditional media, honestly, any one of them who could be covered here. When you think about the work to cover our democracy and what's happened over the last few years, tremendous amount of work. Party committees are sort of obvious, and then voter education organizations. Again, we kind of separated C3s and C4s because they are so many of them, and they really are unique in the work that they do. We also really wanted to recognize programs, and programs were, again, there was things that just didn't quite fit into some of the other categories. And they are often done by a coalition, not necessarily by a singular organization. So we want to lift up culturally impactful events. When I think about all the rallies, all the protests out there, it's just examples, but there's also just some individual events that took place. It's not just about rallies. And that's why we just had sort of convenings, gatherings, if you will. We want to recognize corporate organizations that do socially responsible business to educate their employees and educate their consumers or educate their customers. We want to recognize COVID education, which obviously incredible work that was done by so many people over the last few years to educate about COVID awareness, vaccine education, wear your masks, keep wearing your masks. I don't care if they're not required anymore. Trainings, organizing, protests, like I said, so many different programs. And then finally, the other category, again, transformative technology. We couldn't do what we do without the many tools that we all depend on. And so we have communication tech tools or apps, data, digital, diversity, event, field, fundraising, innovative operations, and texting. So I ran through even that, and obviously it's still taking me a long time. It's a lot. This is a big event. We got a lot of categories. But again, we got a massive community doing incredible work. I do want to flag our calendar, our schedule. We opened up the nominations a couple of weeks ago. We've definitely had nominations been coming in, but we've had to do events like this to really explain the events because it is new and it's a lot, and we want to make sure that people understand how they can get involved. So we've got a couple more weeks here, a little more than 2 weeks till the nominations close. And then we're going to have about a week internally to kind of review the submissions. And then we're going to turn the majority of these out to the public for voting. We will have some of them judged by a committee of judges. And then the big part, and we've said this, but I want to share a little bit about it, is we're doing a couple different events in Washington, D.C., live in person to bring the award winners together, to announce the award winners. So we will have a award ceremony and an award reception, and then we're doing a live in person career fair and career expo. And then there's another big party. It's actually not ours, but we're working in close coordination with something called The Party and Meet Us at the Party. So we have a lot going on, a lot to lead up to that. But right now, our priority is really getting folks to understand the nomination process, because we just have a couple more weeks about that. You'll be hearing us talk a lot more about the events as we go, but focusing right now on nominations. Get your nominations in, nominate yourself, nominate others. Felicia, come on. I'm doing too much talking here.
So one of the other things that I want to talk about is I kind of want you to go back to like the true purpose. Like, this was an idea that I know that you had for a long time. So I really would like for you to talk through like this journey from when you first thought about it, and now that we have a team on board who is taking this opportunity to bring all of these great people together in democratic and progressive politics for this monumentous event that really focuses on the, as I like to call, behind the scenes people, but they're the ones who, like, they're the work, the results of their work is what everybody sees. So talk about a little bit about that process from first birthing the idea, and what's happening now and how we're making it come together.
Thanks. Happy to do that. I mean, this is a project of Gain Power, which is a company I launched a couple of years ago. In many ways, is a continuation of an organization called Democratic Gain that I started 18 years ago. I've been working a long time to help connect talent into organizations and campaigns in this work. And, you know, uh, folks, I mean, like folks for like myself who've been doing this a long time know that it is hard work. It's a critically important work, but I think in so many ways it's transformed in the last, 4 or 5 years in so many ways since the 16 election, where so many more people came into doing this work. So much is focused on like how much money is spent, and again on the front facing candidates, but not realizing literally the thousands of people behind the scenes that do the work on these campaigns, the organizers, the canvassers who are working, the folks who are making phone calls, the folks who are the creators, whether you're creating content or social media, you're trading direct mail, you're creating TV ads. I mean, all this money is going into program, and the program is run by amazing people on the ground across the country. I happen to be sitting in DC. There's a lot of good folks here too, but I really think about the folks toiling in the States, and it's just work that is not well recognized. It's not well recognized by the leaders in it. And I don't think it's recognized outside of our industry. So, in a lot of ways, I really wanted to do something that elevated and celebrated the work that we do, the people who do it. It's obviously been a really rough few years. It's been, every year under Trump was rough, and then you throw in COVID and everything else. And it's been a hard time. And so many events were canceled in person. And I wanted to make sure that we did something that actually brought our community together. Felicia, you've been doing this a few years. You probably haven't met most of the people you've worked with. A lot of people who've been doing this work literally have never met the folks they work with, So the event side of it is literally to bring people together to actually meet, because we haven't had in-person gatherings for a long time. But there's going to be a virtual aspect to this too, because I think that's just the world we live in, a hybrid world we live in. And I want this is the first of what I hope becomes an annual event. It's really important to me, and we're doing a variety of briefings, public and some of them more private, for activists and organizations to learn more about this, that this be an actual community event. That's the reason we didn't call it the Gain Power Awards. We named it something else so that it could be kind of independent and hopefully representative of dozens, if not hundreds, of organizations that include, again, party committees, that include candidate campaigns, that include nonprofit organizations, that include consulting firms and some companies that are socially responsible. It's state the obvious, a lot of people talking about the Oscars this week. There are a lot of industry award programs out there, big famous ones like the Oscars, like the Grammys, like the Golden Globes, like everything from the Obies to the Emmys to the Tonys. I could go on. So many industries, virtually every industry has an awards program, and they exist for a reason. They exist to celebrate people. They exist to celebrate work. They exist to elevate work. They exist to create a place that becomes like an archival, historical set of content. And sorry, my dog's making a little noise over here. And so I think award programs have like amazing benefit, both internally for the community of people who do this work, but externally to educate people about the work that we do. I really want to inspire more people to do this work. And in so many ways, our politics are perceived, and in often cases are, very negative, right? I mean, they're just kind of a negative. And a lot of people, they even hear the word politics and they get a viscerally negative reaction, like, oh, I don't like politics, or, oh, I don't want to talk about politics. And for me, I think politics is awesome. Obviously, I do it, but I think it's not just so necessarily important, but it's fun. It's creative. It is lifting up and literally protecting our country right now. And so, I think it's critical that we do events and activities that elevate our work, that elevate our workers, and that celebrate what we do. And so I'm super excited that a lot of folks are bought into this notion and are coming together to help us do this. We'll be unleashing a whole list of supporters and sponsors and partners. There really is a role for almost everyone to play a role, whether it's nominating, whether it's helping judge, whether it's being an employer at that, whether it's sponsoring, whether it's promoting the activities. We've got so much for everyone to do, and so much we want everyone to do. So I'm pretty excited about it, as you can tell, even with my voice gone.
So I guess my last and final question is, what can we expect when we get to DC in June? I know there's a lot of things and activities that we have planned, including the party, but just kind of walk folks through after we have nominations done, after folks get voting. It's time to get things together to head up to DC. So talk a little bit about some of the activities that we have planned for folks to be a part of.
I will share some things and not others. I'll tell you what I can share, and then I'll tell you what I can't share, but we'll be releasing information as we go. And so the dates are definitely fixed. This is June 8th and June 9th in Washington, D.C. On June 8th, we will be having the award ceremony and the awards reception. There may be some other activities that day, but for sure, that's going to be an official event that we will be sponsoring. I'm not going to release the venue right now. We have not signed our contract, but we're about 95% there, and we'll be sharing that probably in the next week or two. But it'll be a large venue. I will say that to accommodate a lot of folks who are coming for this event. Like I said, we will have an award ceremony and then a reception, probably a viewing party for folks. Like there may be kind of two versions of it. The next day, and in so many ways, I don't even know what I'm more excited about right now. The next day, we are having our first in-person career fair. Certainly, it's our first in-person career fair as Game Power, but it's first in-person career fair that I've known of in obviously since before COVID. We will also be doing a virtual, and it's important to say that the virtual will be the following week. Again, we live in a hybrid world now. We want to make sure all the things that we do are accessible, even when folks are not able to come in person. But back to the in-person events, the in-person career fair will also have some trainings and professional development programs, panels, and some sessions where people can do career counseling or get career counseling. And we, Ife was on earlier, but she's and Cyril are tasked with a lot of our recruitment. We are sponsoring I don't even want to give a hard number right now because we're still figuring that out. But it'll be it'll be a couple hundred for sure, and maybe upwards of 500 to come to the event, to be part of it. So for folks who might watch this or watch it later, if you are interested in coming to the event, especially if you're looking to work on the 2022 elections. This isn't just about celebrating the past work. It's looking forward to the work that we have ahead of us with the midterms. Will be just a few months from then. So we are recruiting talent to come and meet employers in person to do live informational interviews and real interviews with a variety of employers. So, and we've already got a handful of employers signed up, and we'll be releasing some of those later as well. And that is on the 8th during the day. That'll be an all-day thing, like I said, with a variety of activities. And then that evening, there's going to be another party, huge party. It's actually not officially our party, but I'm absolutely at liberty to promote it and to talk about it. They are actually our anchor sponsor and partner for the work that we're doing. There's a huge party for folks who want to check it out. You would just go to meet us at the party. The registration is not through us, although we will probably be managing some of the ticketing for folks who come because we've organized them to come. But that's going to be a live party, and I'm not at liberty to say much more about that right now. But it will be at a very large venue, and it will have some amazing talent. Some of that will be released ahead of time. Some of it will be a surprise. But it will be very high profile talent and a very large party.
No, this has been a great conversation. Folks have gotten to know what the Powerful Idea Awards are, what they can expect when they are able to, if they're able to attend in person in June. For those folks who cannot travel, they'll also have something for an activity for them to do as well, and get to meet some employers. And at the end of the day, Game Power is a networking platform that brings progressive people together, and this is what this award program is going to be doing, and it leans into the mission of Game Power. So hopefully, if folks have any more questions, that you will head over to our website, sign up to become a member for Game Power. That way you can always get great information about the Powerful Idea Awards, but also don't forget to submit your nominations. That is until April 15th. So, as Amy said, tomorrow, literally, you will have 2 full weeks to get those nominations in. And I'm excited. Like, I'm excited to see your vision like really happen and come all together. And I think we have an amazing team that is going to execute that vision. And I think we just need to let folks know, hey, to invite a friend, to submit their nomination. So, Amy, any final words before we go?
No, other than just to thank you. Well, thank you, Felicia, for being on with me, and Cirillo and Ife for joining us earlier. We are super excited about this event. We'll be doing more lives. We'll be doing more activities. We'll certainly do a few more just about the nomination process before that deadline. And then we'll continue to unveil, if you will, details about the event. But we want to keep people intrigued and curious, if you will. The only other thing for anybody watching is, a reminder that we have an extraordinary career center. I don't want to lose sight of our other programs, and there are amazing organizations looking for talent right now. Like I said, I'm as focused on the future as anything about the past. We have unbelievable elections ahead of us at every level for Senate, governors, congressionals, and we have amazing employers right now. So look at our career center if anyone's looking for talent, whether you're an employer, whether you're a job seeker, whether you're just curious to see what's going on out there. Check out the Career Center on gamepower.org. But right now, I want to make sure folks understand these awards. Want to make sure that people know that they are for the community, but that means it takes community involvement and engagement. And again, this is why we want folks to nominate folks and give us feedback too. Maybe you have an idea for a category we didn't cover. Maybe you have an idea for some kind of training or event. We're still planning a lot of these details out. So we're very eager, whether you want to, tweet at us or do it on social media or just email us. I think we've got events@gamepower.org as a team email that comes to all of us about these events. And you can obviously reach out to us directly.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you have a lot of work to do with planning this, and I want to thank everybody who watched live with us, who will be watching after we get this posted on social media. And as Amy said, if you have any questions, reach out to us. And I'm so excited. So get your nominations in so we can soon begin the voting process and get to party and celebrate all the most impactful people who had an effect and role in helping save our democracy in 2021. And we'll have that role still beyond. So thank you so much. And we'll talk later.
All right. We're wrapping up here.